All right, guys, let's check out a Filson Scout. So this is definitely something that a lot of people don't even know exists, or certainly maybe not on your radar, but it's still a very cool watch. So let's check it out. We are looking at a 44 millimeter case. The case is a little bit smaller than the bezel. So 44th case, the bezel is actually like 45 and a half. So a lot of people are going to call this a 45 and a half millimeter watch just because that's what you're going to see from the top side, but really the case is 44. The lug to lug is a 54 millimeter. You can see there's like screw pins instead of spring bars holding on the leather strap. So that's a nice heavy duty feature. 13.5 millimeter thick from the bottom, which has like a little medallion on there. It's pretty cool. To the top of this single domed sapphire crystal, slightly boxed, and does have a bunch of AR coating on it. 22 millimeter lug width. 7.5 millimeter screw down crown, keeping the 200 meter water depth rating. And it weighs in at 116 gram. So, who the heck is Filson? A lot of you guys know they're primarily like in these like clothing world, but really good high quality heavy duty clothing. They also have been making watches, but under the same company of Bedrock Manufacturing that Shinola is in. And this one, I think with many others, Shinola actually hand assembled this one in their Detroit facility. So it has the Argonaut 4220 movement in it, which I had a hard time nailing down exactly what Ronda movement that is. So all these Argonaut movements are basically Ronda movements. So, and Harley bought Ronda, so that's a whole nother topic. But so Harley Ronda, I think maybe the 4120B, but that one has an alarm, and I don't think this has an alarm, but it's essentially the same thing. I had a hard time figuring that one out. So if anybody actually knows, let me know if there's a separate Ronda dual time big date with no alarm, because I'm fairly certain there's no alarm on this one. I could be wrong. So dual time, that's the big thing with this, and the big date. But before we get to that, there is an unmarked bezel on this, except for the red dot up top. It is bi-directional, 120 click. You can still use this. There's, I think, at least two different ways that I can think of. So like, say you stop to visit a family member and you're like, hey, I can only stay for 15 minutes. And you can set it there so you know where you started from, because sometimes when you arrive, you don't always know when that is. And so then you know at least where you started from, and you can go 15 minutes forward, or you can just go 15 minutes forward and use it as a countdown bezel, just basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, like 15. And you know when the minute hand hits there, then it's time to go. Hey, I got to go. My 15 minutes are up. So you can use it however you want, but man, that thing is audible. It feels really weird too, but it's very solid. It's interesting they went with a non-marked bezel though. So like you have to, like you could see that I even stumble with it. Like if you were to just throw, I would have preferred a countdown bezel on this like Zinn does. So that would have been way more useful, but whatever. Okay, the dual time and the big date. Let's talk about the big date first, because I just realized I had that as I was prepping to do the video. So obviously I seen that it was a larger date aperture at the 6, but when you unscrew the crown and you want to set the date, you pop it out one position, right? And then you spin the date. But if you look closely, there's, like most big dates, there's actually two different discs down there. So as you're spinning it, like you can see, it's not a 13 or a 14, it's a 4 and a 5 and a 6 and a 7. And then you'll see the 2 rotate over with the 0. And then the 2, 1. That's an alignment thing. They have to do it that way. I don't know the full function on it. Typically in an automatic movement when they do this style, I've heard, I think Federico talked about it and some other people have talked about it, they'll end up never lining up. This one lines up. I don't know if it's just because it's a quartz and it's easier to keep it lined up, but with an automatic date in this fashion, where you have the 2 discs, one ends up kittywampus and never ends up lining up fully. So, and then your dual time over here, so you can keep your second time zone. You can adjust that with this pusher here. Otherwise, you just adjust your time normally like this, right? So you would probably match them. And then this one is how you adjust the other time zone. So you can see just like that, and then you can go individual spots. So you can move it to whatever time zone you want. That's with this pusher down here. So very cool to keep all that. And then, of course, you have the running seconds at the 3 o'clock. I think this is a very versatile grab-and-go watch that is also dual time. And as you can see, nice knurling on there. And then you have a nice signed crown there with the like a brass insert with the CC Filson, and then the 1897, the year it was founded. And then on the back is really cool. CC Filson, it has the 1741 First Aves, Seattle, Washington. So the ties to Seattle with Filson, but then manufacturer built in Detroit by Shinola. And then a bunch of other stuff there, sapphire crystal, stainless steel, 200 meter, all that good stuff. And then the leather strap is a Horween leather. This one's pretty worn, but you can see it's stamped Filson there. It is a Horween leather. It is awesome, awesome leather strap. And then another little trick they do on their tang and buckle here is this is a roller. So putting it on and off the wrist is actually really cool. Just that little roller action right there just makes it that much smoother and easier to put on wrist, which I'll do right now. I think there's a couple articles on these. I don't know if you can get them anymore. There was a couple, there was like a full black case one. I would like to potentially see that one. There was a white dial one. Price points I think were around $1,000. And then this one, my buddy Calico Basin, actually in my Discord group, he picked it up on the used market on eBay. I think the seller even listed it wrong, listed it as like a chronograph. Maybe he didn't understand what he had, but he picked it up for like a really good deal from what I understand, which is, I mean, nice find for sure, because I've been looking for him. It's called the Filson Scout. I've been looking around for him, and I just can't seem to find him. Even when you go to the Filson website right now, it doesn't look like you can get a Filson watch. Like, that's not a thing anymore. I do know that Bedrock just appointed a new CEO like January of 2022. So I don't know how that's going to affect. I mean, that's CEO of the entire business, which it's more than just Shinola and Filson. There's a lot of other moving parts to the Bedrock manufacturing company. So we'll see how that plays out for Shinola. And in this case, as far as I can tell, it doesn't look like Filson watches are being made. If you guys can find them and I'm just missing it, let me know. But I'll put a link to Filson down below so you can check out their clothing and go from there. So let's check the Lume. The Lume is actually really good on this thing too. Surprisingly. Not really surprisingly. Shinola has some pretty good Lume too, but very good, solid legibility on this when the lights go out for sure. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.